Alright, Drew. I think we sunk our ship on this one.
Yes. There you are, oblivious, drifting through the Atlantic. You know not what awaits you, gifted one.
All right, Nate, you and I jumped into Nautical, a turn-based game that takes place on a ship, and it didn't really hit home with us, and I think our ship kind of sank.
Yeah, man, this game, so I don't really know how to put a genre on it. It's kind of your strategy skirmish style game, turn-based, but at the same time they also have survivor elements. So, I don't know. Did they do a good job on any of these points? Not really, man. So let's get into the gameplay.
Yeah, before we get there, let's talk about the story, though, because
Okay,
the
yeah,
overall
story
of the game is the fact that you were out on a cruise, and you had an option to pick between 4 characters, and they all had different, abilities and stuff like you kind of expect going into something like this. But then your cruise just goes south, and then it's taken over in this Groundhog Day-esque feel of you kind of launching in a basement / like your workshop, which then progresses you to scour the ship and find out why these thralls, which is the version of a zombie, and other creatures are on the ship. And then every time you make it through the level, you go to the front of the ship, sound the horn, and then your day starts all over again. That is basically the most simplistic version of the story, but everything about this game, honestly, Nate, is simplistic.
Yeah, man. So the combat, let's move into the combat.
Yep.
It's like we said, turn-based. And, I'm going to relate to Gears Tactics because I just reviewed this earlier this week.
Yep.
So it's, it's kind of the closest thing to it. But in that game, you have pretty big maps and lots of areas to move. In this game, you have, 3 to 4 action points. You can accumulate more if you level up your character.
Yep.
But you have that many action points, and that many points moves you that many spaces. So basically, each level each little section of the map is a rectangle or a square or whatever. So you're just kind of moving simplistically through these maps, attacking the creatures. There's no real depth in skills. No. There's not a lot of depth in weapons or whatever. It's just kind of like ranged or melee or a grenade style weapon.
Yeah, it's man, everything about the game is it's so empty feeling. A lot of it is really boring. I found the characters were boring. I felt the combat was boring. I felt there's no strategy when placing your characters around the rectangular area / square area that you're in. So you go to the map, but every time you go to a different floor of the ship, it's essentially the same part of the ship, just in different order. So you have a casino over on this end of the ship versus that end of the ship, and everything's just the same thing. It's a rinse and repeat over and over again. And then when you're trying to get into something that's more strategic when placing your characters, because turn-based games are focused on you set up a character over here and then let's set up our other character over on this side so that we can maybe maneuver our way around to flank and set yourself up so that you achieve your goal of defeating the enemies here. Like coming off of Gears Tactics, man, if you didn't have your sniper placed in the right spot, that could lose or win the battle for you. Exactly. Where here, it was, dude, you couldn't move anybody away from each other. I didn't like the overall design. I didn't like the level design. I found everything about the game was simple or boring. It was just nothing was there to propel me to have an interest in my character, an interest in the character or survivors we're out there to get. So half the time when you're into a battle scenario and you're moving your characters around, everything will take a turn. But if you find a survivor that isn't joining your group yet, it will go to them as well as they move around. I'm like, you have nothing to do with what I am actually participating in, but yet I have to go watch you move for some particular reason, which I didn't understand at all. Like, there's just a lot of missteps coming off of all of these tactical games with these turn-based games that we're playing right now. To go to this one, Man, it was hard to play. I got to be honest.
It was really tough, man. And they even tried to throw in some survivor elements.
Yeah.
Where you're finding other survivors as well, which there is some dialogue there, and I appreciate that there's voiceovers for the characters and they were done well.
Yep.
But you're just given 4 options, and it's not usually obvious which one you have to pick. And if you don't pick the right one, you lose reputation with that follower. So you end up maybe not even be able to get them on your team.
Yeah,
And
it was just weird, man, because you go to find these survivors and you talk to them and like, hey, you should join my team. Yeah, but come back tomorrow and I'll see how I feel.
Yeah, I'll see you on deck 7.
Okay, I get that that's the portion that's trying to push the story forward, but it just felt so lame. I don't know. Everything's kind of sucking out right now here, and everything's really hard with all these thralls, these zombies that are kicking around. But yeah, come back tomorrow and see how I feel. Like it was just weird. I didn't like the storytelling. I didn't think it was fleshed out enough. There's just lack of personality in the game. Really hurt this title. Well, Nate, I think Dread Nautical kind of sank our ship a little bit. What do you score in this one?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is probably one of the worst crews I've ever been on, and I'm going to have to give it a 3, man. The poor character design, the poor graphics, just the overall kind of the gameplay itself, it all was lacking for me. 3.
Yeah, a lot of it was really boring, to be honest. The gameplay, the battle system, there was no strategicness needed here at all. Like, the hub world, the rinse and repeat of a Groundhog Day scenario for a game like this was just too boring for me. I'm there with a 3 as well.
I do not understand it. It never failed before. Now my charges are dead? Probably. I don't even know that.
Dread Nautical is an okay survival tactical turn-based game that doesn't do anything exceptionally well. An interesting concept that just didn't roll with Drew or Nate.
Welcome to my realm, child. A realm of darkness. A realm of despair. A realm of dread.